Sarah, an aspiring novelist seeking inspiration for her next book, stumbled upon a quaint cabin nestled deep within the woods. The Airbnb listing promised solitude and serenity, the perfect environment for her to unleash her creativity. Excited by the prospect of a peaceful retreat, she eagerly booked the cabin for a week-long stay. As Sarah made her way down the winding forest path, a sense of anticipation coursed through her veins. The cabin emerged from the trees like something out of a storybook, rustic and charming, with a welcoming porch overlooking a tranquil lake. It seemed like the perfect escape from the chaos of city life. The first few days at the cabin passed without incident. Sarah spent her time writing by day and taking leisurely walks through the woods by night. But as the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness enveloped the forest, strange things began to happen. It started with subtle noises, creaks, and groans that echoed through the empty cabin. Sarah dismissed them as the sounds of an old building settling in for the night. But as the days wore on, the noises grew louder and more persistent, sending shivers down her spine. One night, as Sarah lay in bed, she heard footsteps echoing through the empty rooms of the cabin. Heart pounding, she switched on the bedside lamp, illuminating the darkness. But the source of the footsteps remained elusive, leaving Sarah feeling unnerved and on edge. Determined to rationalize the inexplicable occurrences, Sarah buried herself in her work, hoping to distract herself from the growing sense of unease. But when she awoke in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, she found herself frozen in terror. Standing at the foot of her bed was a figure cloaked in shadow, its form indistinct and ethereal. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she watched the spectral apparition glide towards her, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Paralyzed with fear, Sarah could only watch helplessly as the ghostly figure reached out a hand towards her. Just as suddenly as it had appeared, the apparition vanished into thin air, leaving Sarah trembling beneath the covers. Terrified and sleepless, Sarah spent the remainder of the night huddled in bed, her mind racing with fear and uncertainty. The cabin, once a sanctuary of solitude, now felt like a prison from which there was no escape. As the first light of dawn broke through the trees, Sarah knew she had to leave the cabin behind. Packing her belongings hastily, she fled into the safety of the daylight, leaving behind the haunted cabin and the nightmares that haunted her dreams. But try as she might, Sarah could never shake the memory of that fateful night, a night she would never forget, no matter how hard she tried to bury it in the depths of her mind. A thrill-seeker with a taste for adventure had always been drawn to the unknown. So when he stumbled upon a listing for a historic mansion nestled in the countryside, he knew he had to book it for his next solo adventure. The mansion, with its grand facade and storied past, seemed like the perfect setting for an unforgettable weekend getaway. Little did Jake know, however, that the mansion held secrets far darker than he could ever imagine. Arriving at the mansion, Jake was greeted warmly by the host, a charismatic man with a charming smile and an air of mystery about him. Eager to explore his temporary home, Jake settled into his room and set out to uncover the mansion's hidden secrets. As night fell and darkness descended upon the mansion, Jake's sense of adventure turned to unease. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls, and shadows danced in the flickering candlelight, casting eerie shapes upon the ancient tapestries that adorned the halls. Driven by curiosity, Jake followed the sound of the whispers to the basement, where he stumbled upon a hidden chamber concealed behind a tapestry. The chamber, adorned with strange symbols and arcane artifacts, sent a chill down Jake's spine. Before he could investigate further, however, the host appeared, his smile twisted into a malevolent grin. With a voice dripping with malice, he revealed his true identity, of being bound to the mansion for eternity, preying on unsuspecting guests to sustain his existence. Jake's blood ran cold as the truth of his situation dawned on him. Trapped within the walls of the mansion with a sinister host intent on draining him of his life force, Jake knew he had to escape or risk becoming another victim of the mansion's dark history. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Jake fled the mansion's confines, his heart pounding with fear and desperation. As he raced into the night, he vowed never to return to that accursed place haunted by the memory of the sinister host and the horrors that lurked within. 3. Emily and her friends had been planning their reunion for months, a weekend getaway to celebrate their friendship and reminisce about the good old days. so when they stumbled upon a charming cottage by the lake, they knew it was the perfect setting for their long-awaited reunion. The cottage, with its picturesque surroundings and cozy interior, seemed like a dream come true, a sanctuary of peace and tranquility far removed from the chaos of their everyday lives. Little did they know, however, that their weekend retreat would soon descend into a nightmare beyond their wildest imagination. As night fell and darkness shrouded the cottage, Emily and her friends settled in for a night of laughter and reminiscing. But their joy soon turned to fear as strange things began to happen, doors slamming shut on their own, objects moving inexplicably across the room, and eerie whispers echoing through the halls. Desperate to escape the growing sense of unease, Emily and her friends attempted to leave the cottage only to find that the doors and windows were sealed shut, trapping them inside with no means of escape. Panic set in as they realized they were at the mercy of forces beyond their control. As the hours stretched into eternity, the cottage seemed to warp and shift around them, its layout becoming a labyrinth of endless corridors and hidden passageways. Time seemed to stand still within the cottage's confines, stretching on endlessly as they struggled to find a way out. Terrified and disoriented, Emily and her friends clung to each other for comfort, their minds reeling with fear and uncertainty. Would they ever escape the clutches of the vanishing cottage, or were they doomed to wander its endless halls for all eternity? As dawn broke and the first light of morning filtered through the windows, Emily and her friends found themselves standing outside the cottage, their memories of the night's horrors fading like a distant dream. But try as they might, they could never shake the feeling that they had been touched by something beyond their comprehension, something dark and malevolent that lurked within the shadows of the vanishing cottage.